I found completely appalling and outrageous was how unimpressed lefties were by Trump getting shot in the head. And how many of you would say, will you stop saying he got shot in the head? It just nicked his ear. Once again, to my earlier point, you get nicked in the ear by a bullet and tell me that it's no big deal. I'm good. Nah. That's crazy. If that had happened to Harris, you guys would have talked about it for 3 days nonstop about how we're in helter-skelter mode or whatever it is. And then you go call me a bigot for saying that. This is why you lost the election. That's exactly why you lost the election. You are out of touch. You lost the plot about how people feel in the majority. That's what you did. And that was a perfect example of it, that situation. Oh, I think it was just a teleprompter. You would have never assessed it that way if you didn't wish the guy had died. How f***ed up is that? That you wished he had died. That you play down that he was shot at. It was disgusting. And I, for one, felt a measure of satisfaction that you were punished for it politically, because there is no place for that. Oh, he would have. He is not the standard of any kind of virtue, okay? And he still beat you.
Hey, Chris Cuomo was speaking nothing but facts there. And this is something that I remember in the run-up to the election. I was talking about exclusively. I was telling the American voters, I was pleading with the American voters. I was like, we can't reward the Democratic Party for the messaging that they've been pushing on Donald Trump. Just because you don't like Donald Trump, therefore he's Orange Hitler. He's a threat to democracy. He's a threat to America, right? These were the things that people were saying about Donald Trump. And then when assassins tried to assassinate him, the first one, they donated, both of them Democratic donors, the person with the first assassination attempt and the second assassination attempt. In the second assassination attempt, you saw language that was used by Democratic politicians when they were trying to frame Donald Trump as some threat to democracy. Oh, it's going to be a bloodbath if he doesn't win. He said it's going to be a bloodbath if he doesn't win. But Donald Trump was talking about the economy, and it was a popular phrasing when it's applied to the economy. And liberals, today we're talking about radicalization, because I honestly believe that the mainstream media plays a part into how many people perceive Donald Trump so negatively. I talk about exclusively a lot on this channel how 89% of news coverage on Donald Trump is negative. And I think Greg Gutfeld labels the media's anti-Trumpism the most destructive movement of the last decade. I believe this. I actually believe this to be true. And given with the facts that back up my assertion that 58% of Democratic voters trust mainstream media, I believe many Democratic voters have a negative perception of Donald Trump because they've only been exposed to negative coverage of Donald Trump. If you trust the institution, Democrats, that 89% of the time they cover Donald Trump negatively, and they cover your Democratic candidate, in this case, Kamala Harris, 87% of the time positively, you wonder why you have such a warped perception of the two candidates, and why a lot of Democrats were surprised when Donald Trump won the popular vote. And this will go, it leads more into Chris Cuomo's point that the media, the liberals, they're out of touch in 2024. Gutfeld labeled the media's lockstep anti-Trumpism one of the most destructive movements of the last decade. Let me know in the comment section if you agree or disagree with that statement. I agree with that statement. I believe this anti-Trumpism, it has hurt not only Democrats themselves, liberals, their voters, and I believe in some ways it helped radicalize a lot of people to make violent attempts at Trump's life. I honestly believe that. Let me know in the comment sections. In a recent lengthy piece he dropped Tuesday on X, the Fox News host wrote that when people look back on the horrible decisions made in the last 10 years related to things like crime, illegal immigration, chaos, COVID, and even the mental competencies of President Joe Biden, they did not look further than how it was all excused or denied. Remember, this is my problem with the way that a lot of the liberals in the mainstream media use fact-checking. And actually, the mainstream media, and this is more about them, because this is where majority of Democratic voters get their news from, especially if you're an older individual. If you look at the election data, older individuals, majority of them voted for Democrats and also older individuals in our country tend to get their news from television than social media. And younger people, the younger you are, the more likely you are to get your news from social media than the TV. And it perfectly shows the voting patterns of the young voters versus the older voters over 55 years old. And I think it has a lot to do with our habits. And if the Democrats, if the mainstream media don't change itself, it'll be in the back burner. Legacy media, to justify their irrational opposition to President-elect Donald Trump. And that's exactly what it is. But enough about what I have to say. Recently, CNN got roasted by a comedian. My wife says she saw it, and my wife says the comedian wasn't that funny. My wife said it wasn't funny. So I guess it was only funny to political people like me and possibly you guys on the comment section. But I digress. Let's take a look at the clip, and then I'll follow up with my thoughts.
2024 election fried our brains. The Democrats couldn't hold a primary because they were too busy holding a body upright. Are we still rolling? Am I off?
Go for it.
It was amazing that the pro-choice party didn't give their voters one when it came to the presidential candidate. Kamala was forced on us so hard you'd think she was patented by Pfizer or Moderna, whichever one's. Oh, God. Andy just gave me a very scary look.
No!
Let me be clear, though. 2024 was not only negative. The media wants us to believe this country is so divided, but we actually came together a lot this year. Like, as a nation, we unanimously agreed that we would rather see J-Lo in a toxic relationship than in concert. We all agreed the government totally knows what drones are and aren't telling us. The drones are still up there, and we have no idea what's behind them. No idea. I mean, they're still up in the sky, so I guess we can rule out that they were made by Boeing. The point is, I think we all agree on a lot of things. And since I only have a minute left live on establishment media, why don't we just say a bunch of things that we know that they'll never cover? Okay, ready, go. Trump shooter didn't have any silverware in his house. No one thought that was weird? Are we still rolling? Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia put money into Disney, so just know there won't be any girl characters in the next Cars movie. Are we still rolling? This is wild. The why have so many presidents' chefs died? Weird. Boy Scout of America, they renamed itself Scouting America. You know who else changed their name? Sean Combs. Just saying. Let's learn something in 2025. I can't believe you guys are still letting me go. This is amazing. I love CNN. Please stop me, Andy, because I will just keep going.
Happy.
I don't know. I think the reason why I find it so funny is that I was laughing more in disbelief that they're letting this girl say this on their channel, on their website, like during New Year's. I was just laughing at the whole circumstances of that. Maybe not necessarily her roast, but it lends itself to something, because you saw, I think I showed a clip of it on my previous videos. I think somewhere on my previous videos that I did, but I've showed this clip a lot. But when a CNN host went on Stephen Colbert's show and she said, "Oh yeah, we CNN, you guys covered objectively, you cover things objectively," everyone started laughing. This is why you guys will excuse or deny anything just to justify your irrational opposition to Donald Trump. I think this is a statement that needs to be expunged in legacy media's vocabulary moving forward in 2025. Crime, if you have admitted that progressive policies energize criminality and cost many innocent lives. Based on the results, this is true. That would put you in the side of Trump. Gutfeld wrote for one of his examples, "So you can't do that. Decides the media. So theft and violence become routine. Rhythm explodes." Immigration. If you admit that unfettered illegal immigration, actually, most people now in this day and age, right now, is going on, the debate's heating on. Unfettered immigration stress all of our country's systems, as well as introduce more violent criminals. That will put you at the side of Donald Trump. He added, "You can't do that," decides the media. So it's kept going and people died. COVID, if you admitted that COVID came from China, likely a lab leak, then you were on the side of Trump. Gutfeld continued, "You can't do that either. That would be racist," said the media. "Instead, we embrace absurd notions about bat soup." Exactly. And this is what the media did. The media created such a negative association with Donald Trump that if Donald Trump happened to be right about an issue and you see it objectively, hey, look, Trump's right on this issue, they immediately castigate you on the side of Trump, and you get negatively labeled because you happen to side with Donald Trump. And this is why liberalism has always been based on passive-aggressive tactics like character assassination. This is what liberals do best. Look, liberals, don't go in my comment section talking about trying to excuse this. You guys are known for character assassinations throughout your whole political lives. Like since the birth of your movement, this has been tactics you guys employ. You dislabel people by association. You're guilty by association. You're bad by association. You're Nazis by association. This is why you paint Trump Hitler. You call him threats to democracy, and then people who support Donald Trump or who happen to side with Donald Trump on issues, you label them this, hoping that people will be scared being labeled these things and not support Trump. And this is the tactic you guys were employing. Let's be honest. Gutfeld pointed out that if a person reported on the idea that Biden was unfit for office, that was just an example that you're siding with Trump. This is just an attack line. And this is criticism that I think if mainstream media took to heart, Democrats will stop making fools of themselves. Pete Buttigieg mocked for comparing Biden's accomplishments to a Hoover Dam. Sir, are you high? Indiana Mayor turned Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg took a virtual wave of backlash on X after he compared the accomplishments of President Joe Biden administration to Hoover Dam. I'm confident that a century from now, future Americans will look back on the work we have done, which we look at Harvard Hoover, and see how the Biden-Harris administration big deal for infrastructure made things possible. Buttigieg capped to a video posted on X. President Biden arrived in office with a somber recognition of the scale of the problems our country was facing. Buttigieg narrated the brief video himself, claiming that it was Biden's administration with him in charge of transportation that had corrected the bottlenecks in supply chains as COVID restrictions began to lift. Buttigieg went on to repeat the debunked claim that Biden's administration had created millions of jobs. As you guys saw my video on the economy and what kind of economy Trump's going to be handed, there's possibly going to be another correction of another 653,000 jobs that would have been essentially called ghost jobs. These are fake jobs. The only jobs that are not like fake or government generated jobs. And to me, this is just my estimation, but I don't think government jobs should be counted as part of our job numbers. I'm just saying. Despite the fact that many of the jobs represented people returning to office after COVID rather than new jobs created, and that nearly every job reported in the last year had to be revised downward after the fact. This is Pete Buttigieg. Sir, are you high? The Federalist Merrill Hemingway posted in a response. If you clowns had been in charge of building the Hoover Dam, it would have cost $400 billion and we wouldn't even have started building it yet, John Hopkins posted. The entire scheme of this entire theme of this administration has been boasting about being the most incredible, history-making, innovative, celebrated administration of all time, despite no one being able to name a single thing they have done. It is obnoxious, but they keep strutting along because of the legacy media, because they know legacy media is not going to blast them across all their channels, right? Also, if you look at polls, many Americans believe that Joe Biden is one of the worst presidents in modern history. But Biden keeps touting himself as, hey, I would have beaten Trump. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, this is how overconfident Democrats have become. And I believe it's a hell of their own making, per se. Because they're the ones that keep perpetrating this narrative that, oh, Donald Trump is such a bad guy, because I already listed out all the information there. And here's Donald Trump responding to the idea that Biden would have beaten him in the presidential race if he stayed. And this is more to do with the imagery that they cited with, they painted Donald Trump in. That I believe Democrats get such positive coverage from the legacy media that essentially they believe their own hype, in a better way of saying it. Let's continue with the video.
Hey, look, I wish him well. He had a chance to do it in the debate, and that didn't work out too well for him. That was, I guess, the reason that really led to his downfall.
What are you looking forward to in 2025?
Well, just great, a great year. I think we're going to do fantastically well as a country. We're going to bring it back. It has to be brought back. People are not respecting our country very much, and they're going to respect us a lot. I think a lot of progress has been made over the last 5 weeks. It's been pretty amazing when you look at what's happened. There's a whole light over the whole world, not just our country. There are a lot of very happy people.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of happy people, but if you say that, oh, you're siding with Trump, you're siding with Hitler, guilty by association. And these shaming tactics that liberals trying to employ, it can only work for so long. This is what cancel culture was. This is what allowed wokeness to take over corporate America. It's because leftists One of their key tactics is essentially gaslighting you, making you feel emotionally bad for saying something purely rational. Hey, we can't just take everyone into our house. Oh, you just don't like you're racist. Oh, how come you don't let white people in your household, Kenny? How come you don't let black people in your household, Kenny? Well, I don't know these black people. Like that, this is what the liberals will sit here and try to gaslight you when you're trying to do rational choices. Like, hey, I won't let strangers in my house. Hey, it don't make sense to let people you do not know come into your country and just freely let them walk into your society. Bad things are gonna happen, like illegal setting your citizens on fire, causing crime, not respecting law enforcement. These are some of the negative outcomes for just blindly following along the liberal orthodoxy of how things should be. This is how you weaponize people's empathy. And this is what I believe this is what helped shift many Americans' perspective on illegal immigration, actually in immigration as a whole. Because we're starting to see the game. They're like, damn, wages hasn't increased. Why is that? Oh, because maybe it has something to do with the fact that majority of jobs created went to went to migrants. How can your citizens maintain themselves if most of their jobs are going to people coming from outside the country? Does that sound like a good long-term strategy? I don't think so. And this is what's fueling the H1B1 debate. And it's not based on racism, like I said. It's not based on racism. It's based on nationalism. Hey, should a nation, should a market do things in the interest of its own people, not the globe? And this is the perspective against a globalist versus a nationalist. A nationalist be like, yo, this is an American economy. It should benefit mostly Americans. This is where I say I'm in favor of some regulation. This is what makes me not a libertarian. Because I believe that if you live in my house, you should be first priority. If you are a citizen of a country, you should be first priority. Every other country operates this way. Look at Europe. They tariff the hell out of Ford. There's a reason why you don't see any American brand cars in Europe, because they'll tariff the hell out of America. I think they tariff America like 85%, 100% in some cases. This is why there's no American cars in Europe. Or if it is, they pay almost damn near double the cost just to have an American car in Europe. But if we decide to play that game, Kitty, we're hurting competition. This is not free market capitalism. No. There could be some regulation that centered itself to the interest of the culture. And I think that's what makes me a conservative. This is what makes me for sure a conservative, not a libertarian. I believe my libertarianness is based more on practicality than on ideology. Hey, government, they don't have a good track record of managing things properly. Let's not give them any power to manage healthcare. Let's not give them any power to manage our education system, because look at the outcomes. But, I digress. I think I rambled enough, but you guys get the message. Chris Cuomo's 100% right. This is why liberals are out of touch, because the legacy media makes them out of touch. When you trust an institution, Democrats, 58% of you trust the mainstream media. When you trust an institution that covers Democrats more positively and covers Republicans more negatively, are you surprised the conclusions and perceptions you have about the other party? Why you're more susceptible to messaging where painting the candidate as racist, Hitler, every bad thing, a villain? You automatically believe it because, oh, look, CNN said that. Oh, look, MSNBC said that. Look, NBC said that. And then all I see is bias. It's ridiculous. And then they got Pikachu face. Oh my God, I'm disappointed in American voters. Like, imagine blaming the voters instead of blaming, how did I get my information? Where did I get my information from? Did you get it from Kyle Kalinske, who said that Kamala could win Iowa? Kamala could win Iowa. Believing biased polls. I digress. Hey, you do what you want. But if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result, that's insanity to me anyway. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be interested to hear what you guys have to say. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate you guys watching the end of the video. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.